Get closer though.
Not like this.
Okay, but now don't really put it in your mouth.
Turn around. Turn around.
Turn around.
Yeah, you.
There you go. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
No problem.
You guys are awesome. Look like you play the part very well.
Got my candy stick back. Got my candy stick.
Is it mine?
Look at Daddy, Creighton.
see it. Get him, Lauren.
I'm almost there. This is getting cold.
Great. Planned and built in years following the president's shopping death, two remains of the Celtic symbol on the side. What's that?
Right to stop.
And then if you come down all the way down these steps,
I'll beat you.
we don't live in the cemetery. 1871, when they were moved to the completed tomb. The granite marker indicates the site of the temporary vault. I think it's...
In here?
No. There used to be a vault.
That's right. Gold place there. $9.40.
Still very hot. Still very hot. No, go ahead. It's all right.
Things they didn't have. One was running water, the other was electricity. Now if you don't have electricity, you don't have air conditioning, let's go inside. Now it's to protect the artifacts, of which I am one. Okay, the one rule I didn't tell you about, you gotta let the ranger in. So let me sneak behind you here and...
Go ahead. Which way?
All right, and if we can move down that way just a little bit, and we can get... Feel free to lean against the handrail in front of you. That's why it's there, for your convenience. Now these two rooms you see in front of you are what they refer to as the formal parlors. And this side of the house was only used by the Lincolns on very special occasions, like when they had parties or visitors would stop by to see Mr. Lincoln, kind of like what we're doing right now. Then they would be shown into this area here. And as you look around, you'll see that, well, this is where they had all their nicest furniture, their nicest decorations and knickknacks and the like. And because it was the nicest part of the house, those rowdy Lincoln boys, they weren't allowed to play in here. Now these folks that have been to the museum know exactly what I'm talking about when I say rowdy Lincoln boys. Over here on the right side in the rear parlor, history happened in that room. That's when a small group of politicians came to Springfield right from the Chicago Convention. This was back in May of 1860. And they officially notified Mr. Lincoln that he was going to represent the Republican Party in the upcoming election, which we all know he went on to win, and as we learned across the street, he became our 16th president. So we like to say that Lincoln's road to the White House actually started in this room right over here. Now everything you're going to see in the house did not belong to the Lincolns, and what is not theirs has been replaced by something almost identical to what they had. Most everything you're going to see as you go through is from the 1850s, 1860s time period. And right now, this house looks more like it did when the Lincolns lived here than it ever has before. Well, shortly we're going to head out to another room called the sitting room. And when we get there, we're gonna need a form too. Oh, you're fine. Just gonna be standing right here. Okay. When the last one's in, if you would, just give me the high sign there, and we'll go ahead and start her up again. We got it? Well, folks, not a whole lot you can say about the dining room. That's where the Lincolns ate their meals. But the room you're in right now is what they call the sitting room. Today, well, we'd call it the family room. And this is where the Lincoln family spent most of their time together. This is where those rowdy Lincoln boys could play their games, and where they could roughhouse and wrestle and even have their birthday parties right in here. Now, Mary Lincoln was an excellent seamstress, and she made a lot of the family's clothes, especially the boys' clothes. So you might find Mary at the far right-hand end of the room, next to one of her sewing tables that you see there right below the mirror. And I'm sure you've all read and heard stories about Abraham Lincoln. He was someone just like us. He liked to have fun. He liked to tell jokes and funny stories. We all like to do that. But Abraham Lincoln was also a dad, and he loved to play with his kids. A lot of times in the evening, Mr. Lincoln would come into this room, and he would wrestle with his boys right there on the floor in front of him. Little known fact, Abraham Lincoln was just as rowdy as his kids were. And it gives you a pretty good clue where the kids learned it from. Now, when he wasn't playing with the boys, he would relax in there. He might just read the newspaper. A lot of times he'd stretch out on this same floor to read a good book. But this is the one room in the house where Abraham Lincoln could be both a father and a husband to his family. Well, right now, we're going to take you upstairs. This is where all the bedrooms are at, and the first bedroom you're going to see is the guest room. Take a good look at it, then join me across to the hall. Just a reminder though, okay, this is the guest room right here. Take a look at it, and join me over on the other side.
The guest room. Lincoln's room.
Okay, this is where you need to stay on the blue carpet. Hold that thought.
This is a pretty big house from that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, really, it was considered upper middle class. The house itself is a little over 3,100 square feet. So it's a
That's
good sized
even upper
house.
middle class now.
Yeah.
Depending on where you live.
Yeah, really. Yeah. 14, okay, I think we got everyone, right? All right, I noticed we got some youngsters in the group here. When you guys were in the visitor center, did they give